Here we are, second part. We were talking about the sustain and everything that pushes down. I was explaining that in Italian bel canto technique, something that is basical is that even if it's not so clearly stated, but you can find it stated in a very precious masterclass of Montserrat Caballé in that. You find it on YouTube. I will put it on the comments. But you will find, if you look for masterclass, I think it was 2011 or something like that. Perhaps, I don't remember. And, well, it is the one with the young singer who she corrects for the high notes in the vocalization. You will hear, she will correct her by using what I used in Alice Robert sustain, the lower part of the abdomen, because we had all this long chain that goes till the hips, but it gets also to the feet. And we usually work on the low part of the abdomen for very high notes in classical music. And she was pushing that up before the sound for her. The girl remained stuck as Alice Robert, and as all my students, when they know how to sing, they have a great experience and the knowledge, and we want to change something. It is normal that we get stuck. We have to learn sometimes to be so flexible in some sort of things that we let do on ourselves, and we let do by ourselves on ourselves. This is one of the basics to learn new things. And this is what we talked about with Alex Dire, who works as an occupational therapist, that is a medical professional figure that works in creating again gestures and coordinations for movements that we lost for some reasons. With singers, we have to create them. Sometimes they've lost them, sometimes they've never had. So we can create them. And to get stuck a little moment is not only not a problem, it's the sign that the process is getting good. As I always say, you start knowing, probably it's a two-step process. The first step will make you in an awkward, a little uncomfortable position. And the second one, it's truly happiness and the sense of flying and the sense of finding everything and the sense that you start understanding and using. So we come back to our support. We have the back, that is the appoggio, that puts down. It gives the color, it gives the strength, it gives the intensity within the supports. They are related. They work one against the other. It is not exactly like that into our body. It's more like if you had some ropes and some, how do you call that in English? You have a wheel that takes the rope in the other side, so they work like that. This goes up and this goes down, and they push one against the other. And this will create not only the pressure under the vocal folds, but also the vocal folds closing correctly and giving what it is called elasticity and tension of the larynx, the correct tension of the larynx. When the larynx starts really learning to have a little opposition to the breathing, and this opposition will just have the vocal folds closed and closing back again against the pressure. It's not a pressure that pushes to goes out. It's a pressure that just is there, like if it became water. And you get, as a surf, you can get into. And this is the weight that we put on the vocal folds and on the voice. The weight can be done by appoggio, by pronunciation, by you really taking down the larynx. This is the most careful things to do, because if you're not really very good and very experienced, you can put your larynx too low with too much pressure and not feeling that you're doing too much. This is one of the problems using too much of the appoggio, too much of the weight. That how we live, it gives too much appoggio yet, because it has blocked a part of this muscle. It has blocked a part of the reactivity and capacity of working of the iliopsoas. Perhaps you have heard this muscle when you get to the gym. Perhaps you've heard of this muscle if you do your yoga classes. And yoga classes, contemporary, I've discovered because I started last year in London, Vinyasa Yoga, it works now to truly get back to a really reactive and good iliopsoas, not just stretch it. Because if you stretch something that never works, it will be all right. You will feel relaxed, a little more relaxed, but you will not have an improvement in what we are doing because we need it to work, not to be stuck and blocked and stiff. So usually when you have no sustain, in my experience, you start having this too strong or too stiff, or simply you think it's a good position and you put it there with making a correct position, but you don't realize that since your sustain is really, really, really weak, your larynx or your positions are not correct. Your larynx or your positions eventually must be there. So what you have to do, you have to go on singing, being there. No, we take away this, or we make some of the exercises that I've invented that give an elasticity there and a reaction there. And we do some vocalization, some exercises, some things very precise to put more sustain than appoggio, sometimes even without pronouncing anything. I know we have to learn to pronounce again back. No, it's not a great problem. It is just that if we really, really, really want to develop the sustain, we can quite easily, not easily, but yeah, quite safely, in a reliable way and direct way, put in some vocalization in which all the components of that gives an opposition will gently not put all the opposition that they can on the sustain, because the sustain, if it's too weak, will not have the force to really oppose to that. And think about rugby, a keep too. You have New Zealand. Sometimes you have a little club of 7-year-old boys. What can they do against New Zealand? You have to take New Zealand, not only be firm, but be elastic, and to help them to give just the resistance to have a good sustain. And what we are going to do is to put some vocalization and some exercises to simply train just the sustain and understand into our system which are the correct positions of our voice. Correct position meaning that copertura and pronunciation will also act on the position, and will also act on the fact that in a voice it is not so strict to have just one perfect position, perfectly balanced in all its characteristics to sing. This is fantastic in the voice. We can a bit work technically and intelligently to work with a little more sustain and having a more pop or rock voice, or eventually a more baroque voice also. Now we have more weight and it is not anymore in the style, but the very clear, the very pure, and some Mozart is in the perfect balance. We can put a little more sustain, as I do with jazz singers, that they don't want to be heavy. They want to have swing, and the swing is in there. It's in the fast fibers, and also in a couple of abdominals, but this will be for another tutorial. So what we have first of all to understand is that we can work on the positions. It is not because we started here or there that we have to remain there. Voice is a complex of muscles, but it's a structure and it's very elastic. It is not intuitive. And I will go with a third because I know it's so long that, but no way, can't do just in two.